So, you want to make skirt noises and look like an idiot when parking? Then you came to the right video. I'm gonna show you how to weld your differential.
I need to stop. I've been doing too much, I've been running too fast, I've been testing my luck. I've been living cloud nine, I've been at it all night, I've been feeling so loved. I've been waking up late, I've been making up shit, I've been spilling my guts. I've been feeling so blessed, but stressed all day, so what?
Right, so to weld your differential, we need a few tools. Flathead screwdriver, just some sockets, I believe it's 17 mils for this one, and then here this is gonna be 13 or something. And a welder and brake cleaner, and that's basically all you're gonna need. Oh yeah, we're doing this on an E36 differential, just so you know. So we're gonna remove the back cover, and then we're gonna inspect how good the oil is, if we need to replace it or not. We've taken off the back cover, so this is what we have now. So a very big ring gear, those are the spider gears. When your drive shaft is going to turn the front flange, it's going to start turning that gear right there, and that spins this big one. And this big one is connected to this housing. And in this housing you have 4 these spiders gears. So like this. And these basically allow your car to have different speeds at your both wheels. This is an open differential, so it means that there can be a limited difference between the two. So one can completely spin and one cannot spin at all. So that's the open differential. It's the cheapest one. And yeah, if you really want to know how it works or how an LSD works, just look it up on YouTube. There are a few really good explanations on there with yeah, with a nice animation. Because it's not that easy to explain. But yeah, we're not here to explain how an LSD works. So basically, to weld the differential, you need to weld those 4 spider gears to each other so they don't spin anymore. And then both your wheels are always going to spin together, and it's basically easier to break them loose. So that's why most drifters, at least in lower, or yeah, when you're a beginning drifter, they all use welded diffs and not some fancy expensive LSDs. So the best thing you can do when you're welding an LSD is a welding diff. Most people do it when this is all just assembled like this, and they weld it when, yeah, you just see it like this. But the problem is that all the heat gets soaked into the housing, and the rubbers in here, the seals, they can go bad by all the heat, and then your differential will be leaking. So we don't want that, so I'm actually going to take this part out of the diff. In order to do that, we're going to remove the 2 flanges first. They just pop out. Then we loosen these 6 bolts. And then this part comes out, and this just comes out as well. And normally it shouldn't be a problem to get it just assembled back, because this can only go on in one way and you don't really have to adjust it. All the adjustment is done by the front flange, and we're not gonna touch that. So I'm gonna show you how to do that right now. So we take our flathead and basically just put it in between here, like this. Like that. And see, when we turn the flange, everything is turning as well. And like that. Okay. Now we can just slide these out like this. Put them to the side. I don't know if it's best, but you're probably best keeping them on the right side. This is the left one, this is the right one. Okay. Okay, now we're gonna loosen these. Now we should be able to pry these things off. So as you can see, this is the clock that's in the middle with these bearings and basically pressed in between these two flanges. So you see it's already loose. Just gotta take this one out and then all this comes out as well. And here we go. Okay guys, so here we have it. This is how your differential looks like on the inside. So we have the housing with the pinion gear. As you can see, that one slides into here, turns this, and this is basically for your speed sensor. But it's all looking really good. So yeah, it will all just be reusable. You can see some markings on the pinion gears. I don't know if it's going to focus. Nah. But that's not bad. That's not a problem, as we're going to weld these shut and they won't move anymore. So yeah, looking really good. So these also look good. I'm going to clean everything, of course, before I put it back. But I think all the seals and everything are good. So yeah, and so this is how your differential looks right now. So now that this is out, this I will put. I'm going to put this in a little plastic box and thoroughly clean it with brake cleaner, so all the oil residue is off of it. Because when there's oil on it, you can't weld it properly. Really clean this off. Yeah, clean everything, but this is the most important. And then, yeah, just with the MIG welder on max, we're gonna weld the spider's gear shut. And what you can also do, of what people often do, is weld these shut and then weld a plate in the middle so they really don't move anymore. Because there's a lot of force coming onto these parts, obviously. So, yeah, really want to lay good thick welds with a lot of penetration, but that shouldn't be an issue. So I have just sprayed it down with brake cleaner. I'm gonna let it dry now, or not dry, just let it sip out. The brake cleaner should take most of the oil away. And then in 20 minutes or so, I'm gonna spray it down once more. Then let it dry, and then it's basically ready to get welded. So I left the assembly that we took out of the differential, let it dry for about a day, really let all the oils and should drain out. So here we have it. It's looking nice and dry and ready to weld on. So I'm doing the setup right now. I don't think I already explained why we do this. So why I took this out and didn't just weld inside the cover. And basically when you're welding with a MIG or a MAG or whatever, a lot of little metal balls will be formed by the welding because yeah, it's just a violent process. And those little metal balls, yeah, they're really, really hard. And they all fall into the case and there's a good chance you're not gonna get them all out. And when then you reassemble the diff, put it in your car, if one of those little balls get trapped in between the teeth of the gears, then it can really just destroy everything. So this is the safest way of doing it. And also for the seals, but I think I mentioned that already. Alright, we've done a couple of welds. So as you can see in the corners where the I forgot the name, the spider gears meet. So it's not that easy to reach. So it's my first time doing this, so I hope it's gonna be strong enough. I'm gonna do just a few layers over each other and make sure they really have enough depth. But I think when I'm doing all four corners on both sides, that all that together it should hold up. And then we'll see if I will add a plate in the middle. Maybe I should, and I'm sure that it will be, yeah, it never will come loose. So yeah, but I'm gonna start with this, let it cool down from time to time because it's, yeah, obviously it gets really hot. So yeah. So I welded all of the corners, and now I got these things from the machine shop. Just two pieces of metal that I'm going to put in like this, and then weld them all around. That way it's really one big solid chunk of metal and it's never going to break, I hope. And on another note, look who's back. So she's been standing at a mate's house for yeah, the past month. Still broken down, still haven't figured out what the problem is. So yeah, it just died on me. When I wanted to restart it at a friend's house, fuel pump didn't activate, so I thought, yeah, just a bad pump or something. But I checked the pump, checked the relays, checked the fuses, they were all good. So yeah, I'm not sure. I checked for the sparks, the spark plugs, it has spark. There's fuel in it. I've checked and measured a bunch of sensors, I checked wires, I checked relays. And I can't seem to find the problem, so yeah, that sucks. So today I had a camshaft sensor that I ordered. I changed it, didn't change anything. I have diagnosed it 3 times. So once with a cheap program, it gave me one code, control unit supply. And then yesterday a guy that I knew, well, that I didn't know, I mean, he came with like original BMW equipment, and the most expensive equipment didn't work at all. And the other one gave the same code, so control unit supply, which would indicate a problem with the DME or the ECU or the power with the ECU. But I've checked the ECU in another car, that car started right up. So yeah, I'm a bit at a loss at the moment. So it could still be the crank sensor. I'm gonna see, because they are expensive sensors and I don't just want to buy them and throw new parts at the car, because that's not the way you should solve these issues. It's like the first thing you know. So diagnose it until there's nothing left before you start throwing parts at it. So, but yeah, I rented a trailer, it's back home now. It's a bit easier than having to drive 20 minutes to do something on it. So yeah. All right, let's continue to weld. Okay, so the two plates are in. As you can see, I welded it nice and thick. So a lot of material in there, should be really strong. I wanted first to do it all around, but it's a bit deep, and I think, well, this should be plenty, because I can't really reach in there that good. And then, yeah, it's not the highest quality welder, so it starts yeah, shooting those little balls fairly quickly. So I'm just gonna leave it like this. Here's the other side. As you can see here, I could do a little bit more in the corners, but yeah, I'm quite confident that this will be okay. So I'm going to let it cool down, and then before I reinstall it, I'm going to spray it down again with brake cleaner, because yeah, in between all those edges and stuff, there could be yeah, some residue from the welding or some metal balls, and they all have to come out so I don't destroy the rest of the differential when I actually drive it. So yeah, it's really hot. I'm going to let it cool down until tomorrow, and then yeah, tomorrow reassembly. So I'm first going to clean all these surfaces with some brake cleaner, so no dirt gets trapped in there. So I don't know if I explained this already. So there's your pinion gear that turns these big teeth. So basically the whole clock is just held in by those two yeah, I don't know, flanges, and they basically squeeze on these bearings, and that keeps the whole thing in place. So to reassemble it, we just put this in, and then we wiggle one flange at a time, or I should say both at the same time, but like tap from this side, tap from the left, tap from the right, so that it seats evenly, and then normally they should just perfectly line up. And before we're doing that, I'm going to grease up these bearings, because they seem to be dry. Normally they have a lot of enough lubrication from the diff fluid, but I'm gonna add some of this, the thick grease, because yeah, it's better to have a little bit too much grease than not enough, especially with bearings. Just gonna roll it in. Just turn the little bearings, and then the grease should get all in there. Twist it a bit, just like this. Right, that's one side. Well, just to be sure, I'm gonna add some more, so it doesn't hurt to have a lot of grease. A little more. Just really push it in to those little, yeah, I don't know what it's called, like the rollers of the bearing. Just push it in the holes. Alright. Okay, so now this is ready to be assembled. It goes in this way. Put it in like this. So as you can see, the bearing is right there. It only goes in one way, so don't have to panic. Just like this. This tab has to be on top. Okay, so we're gonna gently push this in, and then we're gonna have to just lift the clock a little bit so it goes into the middle of it. All right. So that is just one. Okay, put in the one from the other side. Need to clean it first. little bit of brake cleaner. Alright. You can see I'm gonna lift the clock, so that's piece in the middle like this, and then we're gonna mount this again with the tab on top, just like this. Alright. Okay. There's like a small plate behind it, this one, with those holes in it, so you need to line those holes up. So roughly like this. Alright, put one in. You can see I need to play with it a little bit. See if this threads. Just put it in by hand first. Make sure you've got threads before you use any sort of machine. Right.
We hebben de pal nu gesloten.
Ja.
Dan ga eens kijken naar de papieren van de pol.
Nee.
Dan wil je naar de controle.
Ja, oké. This, just put all the bolts in. Yeah. Make sure we've got threads. You could put Loctite on these. I'm not gonna do that, because I'm quite confident this will not come loose. Yeah. There wasn't any on there, so I'm pretty sure that it's not that big of a deal. Okay, so now basically we're gonna give it a few taps with the hammer to see if it goes into place, and otherwise we're just going to tighten the bolts in a crisscross pattern. That way it gets seated evenly. Just gently tighten it. Right, and now the other side first. Okay, so we've mounted those now. And now basically, if we turn the front flange, it should work. And you can see we turn the front flange, it turns nice and easily. So that's the first step of the reassembly done. Well, not done. You should torque these down, but I still don't have a torque wrench, so I'm just going through it on feel. They're 13 mil, so yeah, they are snappable. So don't go all crazy on it. Just real tight, but don't overdo it. That's like the perfect explanation to fuck it up for the first time tightening bolts, but you'll learn the hard way. Okay, so now just with regular ratchet or wrench, tighten these bolts to where I think they're tight enough. There. not that big bolts, so don't have to exaggerate. Like this, the same on the other side, obviously. Okay, so like that is tightened. Now we're gonna put in, or put back in the flanges. And so if everything went as it should, there should be no residue from the welding in there, and they should slide in quite easily. Just have to wiggle a bit to find the threads. Alright, tap with a hammer, just like that. So that one is seated, that's good. And the other one, hopefully the same. Just put it in, give it a tap, and then just like that. Ta-da! And now you can see everything works as it should. No weird noises. If you can hear this. So there is play in it, but there has to be, because if it's too tight, then just the gears, it won't work, and it basically will damage itself. So this play is normal, and you basically hear it because there's no oil in the diff. When there's oil in it, you will barely hear this. So this is normal. Okay, so next up, the next step would be to mount the cover, but I'm not gonna do that. Because as I mentioned, this cover is from another car. The electrical connector is a different style than E28, so I can't use it. So I'm gonna have to either steal the cover from my original diff, that's right over there, or take the cover from the diff that's under the car right now. But I'm not gonna do that now because the other diff is still full of oil, and I want to keep it just like that for now. So yeah, this is as far as we're gonna go today. So I'm glad, because it's looking really good, and I'm confident that this is gonna hold up to the power. And then I'm also not immediately going to mount it in the car, because my axles are a bit worn, so they have a little play in them. And I've searched through all my axles. I have like 3 or 4 sets, and they all have play in them. And basically with a welded diff, it puts a lot of extra stress on those components, and they will probably fail even sooner. So I'm only going to put in the diff when I have replacement axles that have no play in them. So I've looked for revision sets. It's quite expensive. I'm going to revise one set myself, make a video about that too. But for now I'm just going to try and buy a set that has no play in it, so I can use those for now. And then over time I will revise, or refurbish I should say, a few sets, and maybe put them also up for sale, or offer the service or something. So yeah, yeah, it was nice to do this for the first time. It's not that hard. The first time taking this apart, you think, oh snap, but as you can see, it's not that difficult. So yeah, I'd strongly advise, if you're welding your diff, to take it out of the case. Otherwise there's a good chance everything's going to leak. Then to wrap this video up, well, yesterday I made a good mate of mine who is like a swap master. He came to help me, and after a few hours we finally found a problem with the car. So basically we redid all of the grounds, so undid them all, cleaned them all, made sure we had bare metal. We checked the fuses, and basically with E28 fuse box, it's just a bad design with the 2 clips that hold it like this, and whenever they lose tension over time, and so I basically also had a bad contact on my fuel pump relay. And yeah, we cleaned all that, adjusted it, and suddenly it wanted to start again. So that's great. So I still don't know if my injectors weren't opening like I thought. Maybe there just wasn't enough pressure in the rail. I should look into it to know how that exactly works, but yeah, I'm very happy. So the car runs again. I haven't driven it yet though, because there's a lot of things that really need some attention first. that I did like temporary to get the swap running, but now it's time to do them properly. So like this, we added another ground here. I'm going to redo that so that it's nice and tucked away. Yeah, the power cable for the starter and such I'm going to redo as well. I'm going to take the harness apart, or take the plastic cover of it and wrap it in tape. That way it's much tighter, and then I'm going to find a way to mount it to the firewall, because like this is just laying here and that's not ideal. So that's one of the things that need to happen. I need to make a bracket for the filter. I need to redo this wiring because yeah, just sticking out like this, that's not really ideal. So that's all stuff that needs to happen under the hood. Interior wise, I have to take out the passenger seat and tap one of the mounting holes in the chassis because it's stripped, and as you can see, it's not really that sturdy, so I need to redo that. I need to mount the hydro again, but I'm going to order a smaller cylinder because I like to have a bit more travel. Now it's really short and you have to pull it really hard, and that's not really, I don't really like it. I also need to mount this up again the right way. I'm probably going to put in the front console again, because like this it's a bit short on storage space. I like to put my phone and stuff, so not that handy. So I'm going to put that one back in. I need to clean up this mess, because now it's just all laying on top of each other, and that's not really ideal, as there are power cables running through there, and if they make contact with the ECU, then yeah, everything can go bad once again. So yeah, I'm also redoing that. Then in the rear, I'm going to add a second fire extinguisher here, because yeah, fire is like really scary thing for to happen, and with this kind of swaps, you never know. I'm going to seal this, and especially the, yeah, whatever it's called here, with aluminium that I'm probably going to wrap in carbon like the hood. I think it will look really cool. Then the interior is like, yeah, much sweeter, just, or it's gonna look a lot nicer, because like this, yeah, it just looks like shit. So that's also a thing that we will be doing in the upcoming episodes. And then lastly, in the trunk, I'm going to make a proper battery mount, because like this, yeah, it's also not so ideal. And I need to, what was it also? Oh yeah, and check the drive shaft, because when I'm on track, I have really strong vibrations at very low RPM. So I don't know if it's, I put it back, well, or I assembled it a little bit off, so it's not a really, how to say it, it's not centered, no, it's not balanced anymore. So that could be it, because at higher RPM it's not really there anymore. But yeah, so that's all stuff that's coming in future videos. And also I have exams in like 2 weeks, and after those are done, then we're gonna finally start on yeah, my first car, and that will be a proper yeah, fully refurbished restoration. So I hope you're excited for that. I really am. And then yeah, I thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I hope you learned something from it. And I say stay tuned and have a nice day. Bye.